Hi, welcome back to Conversations with Marléne and Pascale. And today we're going to be talking about a really juicy topic, and that is intuition. What is it and how does it help us? So before we dive into that, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Marléne Rose Shaw, therapist and coach and self-help author, and I specialize in helping people have great relationships. I work with individual clients and I work with couples, and I just love helping people be their true selves and have the best life because they're able to step into the light, shine bright, and say what they want and have a wonderful, wonderful life, really getting the best out of life. Over to you, Pascale.
I don't know how to follow that. What she said. My name is Pascale Lane. I'm a therapeutic relationship and confidence coach, and I help women to have the relationship they truly deserve. I am, I combine 25 years of practice, and I really do believe that when we have a great relationship with ourselves, then all of our relationships improve, whether that's with your partner, your children, actually, like all areas of your life. So yeah, that's me.
Excellent. So intuition, great topic. What is intuition and how does it help us? Intuition, it's kind of one of those words, isn't it, that people might see it in different ways. What's your take on intuition, Pascale?
So intuition is something which I am consciously, I would say, for the last year or two, really, really trying to develop. Intuition to me is something which we all have. Like, we all have intuition, but how do we? It's kind of like our bodies knowing. It's like I don't know whether it's necessarily spiritual. I think it is spiritual, but I don't think it's necessarily spiritual. I think it's about how do we trust our body, our experiences, our environment to know what is right, what is the right thing to do in the moment, what is the right maybe course of action. And I think our body and our mind and maybe our spiritual awareness really is there to guide us and give us that guidance. And I think that guidance is the intuition, but we just don't always know it, hear it, see it, feel it. That's the bit I'm trying to work on. Sorry,
I've
that's a
been
long
the
answer.
same. Yeah, in recent last year or so, just letting go a bit more and trying to tune in a bit more. Intuition, I suppose, for me, it's kind of like information. It's information that comes from, I think it actually comes from two places, intuition. I think one is actually just a data bank of information of things we've learned over the years. That there is a part of intuition that isn't magical woo-woo, it's just basic information. We've had so many experiences and had so many lessons over the years, and so many things that we've come to understand that it's like a sort of computer program there in the mind, and so we can pick from that. We don't actually have to stop and think about a particular topic. It's just the information's there. So that's partly it. But I think there's also the Gary Craig, who founded EFT. He called it, I think it was Gary Craig, he called it the cosmic guidance pool. And that intuition for me is about a universal information that I have access to, and I pick it up in it's two ways. One is I just know, like I'll just know something, and I can't tell you how I know it. I just know it, and it's not something I've learned before, I've experienced before. I just know. And sometimes also it's a feeling. I sort of connect with a feeling of something, and that, that's quite strong. So I feel into, is that the right way to go or not the right way to go? Or sometimes I get a picture in my head. That's intuition for me.
Yeah. I was just kind of like smiling to myself a little bit then, because I just think back over all of the years, all of the experiences where I've gone into something and gone, oh, this isn't a very good idea.
Yeah. Do it anyway.
And just done it anyway. Like, this isn't going to work out well. And then just like, oh, whatever. Kind of like logic, either logic or fuck it takes over, whichever. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Like, sometimes you just know it and sometimes you feel it. And so would that be the difference between kind of experiential intuition and kind of spiritual intuition?
I would say.
Because we're both massively into our spiritual side. We're both massively into our spirit guides and universal law and all of the other excellent stuff. And so, like, certainly, I wouldn't personally dismiss any of that as part of intuition. And sometimes I feel like, I've got massively back into Gabby Bernstein at the moment. She's like my morning guru to kind of get me going in the morning and set me up for the day in a really good way. And I sometimes feel like I'm saying to my spirit guides, like, why aren't you answering me? Like, why aren't you telling me? And I feel like they're all standing around me with like these megaphones, like screaming at me, and I'm just not hearing it. I'm just not seeing it. And so I'm also really interested in how, like, the logic takes over from intuition, and like we let our brain do the thinking instead of letting our body do the feeling.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How we can ignore, it's like that inner voice, and we can ignore it, can't we? And like you say, sometimes it's quite loud, and you just ignore it anyway. I know, and it's really sort of palpable feeling, isn't it? Of that, there's something sort of screaming at you saying, this isn't a good idea. And you just find yourself on automatic pilot, going forward and doing it anyway. Or sometimes to have a voice that's saying this is a really good idea, and
then not trusting
it. Yeah. I think most people would say that they've had experiences where they've looked back on reflection and they've thought, I knew I should or I shouldn't have done that, and I just didn't listen to my inner voice.
Yeah. I mean, like, loads, good and bad, like not all bad, like good and bad. Or if only I had done it that way rather than that way. Or okay, so why, without kind of like spelling out the obvious, why is intuition important? Why is it there? Why is it so important to us?
I think it is, something for us we tune in, and we're listening to our true core self when we're listening to our intuition. I think there's so many different ways of looking at it, isn't there? There's about trusting in yourself and your own life experience, and trusting your wisdom, and not feeling the fear, because there seems to be two things that stop intuition. One is not trusting in yourself, having a fear, letting fear take over. And the other is almost like a not actually practicing tuning in to it enough. So you tend, you know, because we tend to operate on automatic pilot a lot of the time. You know, we're coming from the subconscious a lot of the time. We do things we're not even stopping to think what we're doing. And so we get some intuitive voice that comes along and says, here's a suggestion. But because we're not used to listening to it, we're not practiced at listening to it, what we do is we just carry on this automatic pilot. And there's one voice that's saying, you know, you're just not, you should listen to this. And the other voice that's saying, well, no, I'm used to doing it this way. I'm just not going to take any notice. It's easier. I'll just go this way. And as I say, there's the other one that is the kind of, oh gosh, I'm not sure, I don't trust this, I'm fearful because I had this experience once before. What if it all goes wrong? So I think that there's something, isn't there, about being our true, authentic self by stopping and getting to know ourselves well enough that we can recognize fear and not be driven by fear, and also stopping to practice tuning in. It's almost like kind of love and fear, isn't it? We kind of want to get good at noticing the fear and not buy into it too much, and get good at noticing the love and buy into that much more.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm thinking about that kind of, like, what comes up for me as you're saying that is kind of, am I enough? So like, am I enough? Do I know enough? Do I have enough to be able to make, do I have enough knowing to make this work just by following my intuition? Or do I mean, this is where like in my business over the years, I've kind of not fallen down. I don't think fallen down is ever right to talk about experiences, whether they're good or bad, because they're all learning experiences. But like, do you follow the system that you are being taught by other people? I know we've talked about this, haven't we, before? But like, or do I know enough now to follow my intuition and do what just feels right for me?
And I'm curious to know where do we stand on that? Where do we all stand on that? How can we get more comfortable with actually, you know, is it a good idea to do that, to follow our intuition, do you think? And if it is, how can we do that?
Well, I think without wanting to sit on the fence too much, I think probably a little bit of both. I think I've made decisions. So talk about my business now. I've made decisions. I've invested money. I've done courses. I've done all of that kind of stuff. Like I said, none of them have been lost. None of them have been without some sort of gain. But I've done some things that I think I really don't feel like this is going to work for me, but I'm kind of being sold in, and so I'm trusting this other person more than I'm trusting myself. But then also it's like you need to follow your intuition, but you still need to have some sort of logical backup and system and strategy at the same time. So it's not all, you know, I'm going a little bit into manifesting now, but it's not all like I'm just going to write it in my journal and put it on my vision board and then it's just going to suddenly happen. So you need to kind of do a little bit of both, but I think do you know what? I keep coming back in my mind to self-trust. And I think knowing that you know what the right thing is for you to do in your business. You know, this coming up a lot in my work at the moment. You know what the right thing is to do in your relationship. You know, like we both work in the relationship. I know we slightly differently, maybe, but I know what to do with my children intuitively. I know what's right for them. But it can be so easy to be maybe misguided, feels a little bit too strong, but misguided by other people and their, not necessarily their opinions, but their experiences. And I think, again, coming back to what we were talking about at the beginning, like a lot of intuition is experience based. Like we know, like from a very, very, very young age, like not to touch things that are hot. So you don't stay away from things that are hot because your intuition is telling you not to. You stay away from things that are hot because you've been burnt in the past. You might not remember it, but you know that if you touch hot things, you're going to get burned. And that is the metaphor for life, right? Like sometimes we touch things and it get burnt, and that's just how it happens. And sometimes you don't, and so yeah, it's I don't know, and I'm being fluffy with my answer. I'm being vague with my answer because I'm still on this learning journey. Like I'm still on this path of learning at the moment.
I guess that's really the message for people listening who are thinking, well, am I intuitive? How do I listen to my intuition? Would it be a good, how can I do that? How can I make that happen more in my life? And actually, there's something about that self-trust and that ongoing learning thing, isn't there? As you say, that we'll just try a little bit. It doesn't have to be this big, it's all intuition or none at all. Just if you've got a sense of something, just test it out a bit.
I did some great journaling yesterday, actually, just sat out in my garden. And I thought, well, I need to kind of give myself a little prompt. So what am I going to prompt myself with? So I gave myself 3 prompts, didn't stick to them, but that's beside the point. And my prompts were, and I think so for anybody wanting to like understand their intuition a little bit better, this is what I did. You can do a variation of it. So my prompts were, what do I want? What do I need? And what needs to change? Or what do I need to do to get there? Yeah, I sometimes need a few prompts just to kind of get me going, and then once I get warmed up, I kind of just let my pen do its thing. But what do I want? What do I need? And what do I need to do to get there? Or what needs to change? I think if you are in a calm environment, you've got no distractions, no time pressure, and you actually can just stay in that zone, you will come up with the answers that you need.
I think absolutely, if you ask the questions, whether you're asking spirit guides, universe, your subconscious data bank, whatever you're asking, that's not the point. The point is that you're putting the questions out there, and once you put the questions out there, the answers will come. But it's about having the right questions, isn't it? And maybe there's something in that as well about intuition and practicing tuning into intuition. Perhaps it's about, instead of saying, I need this answer about this, should I or shouldn't I? Maybe it's more about getting better at asking the right questions. And when we get good at asking the right questions, then the right answers will come. Perhaps we need to get a bit more specific. And perhaps that's a key to tuning into intuition, isn't it? I'm sort of struck by this sort of intuition, like this woo-woo universal, quantum field of energy, and then our own individual experience of intuition, of our information and our past experience. And I'm thinking about that you know, that saying that we're not human beings having a spiritual experience, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, and thinking that that's what it is really. You know, we're spiritual beings, so we need to tune into that bigger field of information, but we are actually having a human experience as well. So we also need to think about the human side of things and the practicalities of things, and actually balance those two out, as you said. And maybe that's what intuition is. It's about trusting in yourself, trusting in the field, listening to yourself, recognizing fear, and not necessarily trying to get rid of fear, but soothing fear so that it's not dictating everything, and just practicing that self-trust.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Which I think is difficult for people who maybe haven't had the experience of kind of like being supported to trust themselves and believe in themselves.
Mm.
And like trust that in the end, I mean, this is what we know, Marlene. This is what I think we know. Overwhelmingly, in the end, everything's going to work out all right anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the end, you're going to get where you need to be. It just depends how kind of quickly, smoothly, hard it is to get there. But actually, in the end, everything kind of works out how it's meant to.
And actually, as you say that, it occurs to me that the more self-knowledge and self-awareness we have, the easier it is to follow that guidance. And actually, a way to get that is to have some sessions with a therapist, isn't it? Because that's how we learn and grow and evolve, and become more trusting in ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just smiling because I'm just thinking about the client that I've just had a session with, and just how relevant that is for what I was talking about with her.
Okay.
And just like actually just needing to just actually be there in that moment with her, sharing something deeply, deeply important and profound and unbelievably life-changing. And yeah, just like, I don't like what a difference we make to people's lives, just sounding really like smug for a minute, but just like what an unbelievably huge difference it makes to all of our clients' lives, or anybody that seeks that help to actually get there quicker, get there easier, and just and a lot, maybe not pain free, because I don't think it's a pain free process, but it makes the rest of your life journey a lot less painful.
And you have the confidence to do it yourself, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Fabulous. Okay, fabulous.
Such a big topic. I feel like we've
so
touched on things. We could sort of branch out 10 more topics around intuition. Maybe we will. Maybe we'll come back to this again. This is almost felt like a sort of a general kind of look at intuition in a kind of a wide way. But we could have lots of little offshoots, couldn't we?
Yeah. Fab. Well, we will, because we'll be back. We're here every week. How can people get in touch with you, Marlene?
get in touch with me by sending me a DM here on Facebook, or just click on the link below in the comments and you can get in contact with me that way.
Do you have a free giveaway?
Free, yeah, you can well join my list and you get free tips every single week on confidence and relationships.
Fantastic. Okay. And if you want to get in touch with me, pretty much the same as Marléne, send me a DM or book a call using the link in the comments below. And I've got a free Facebook group called Happy and Fulfilled Women if you want to come along and join me there as well.
Excellent. We'll be back next week.
Certainly will. All right. Take care.